Necrolepsy is a game by Stolken, also known as the guy who made the Duff McWhalen video and who voiced the Easter Bunny in Postal. It's an indie Metroidvania heavily inspired by the Mega Man Zero series and Castlevania Order of Ecclesia, with a little bit of Devil May Cry sprinkled throughout. It was released on October 11th of last year and follows the young bounty hunter Lyra, who gets cursed by necromancers with necrolepsy, which is a curse that makes it so she only has nightmares and those nightmares always become reality, which causes Lyra to try and not to sleep as much, and that makes her hair go from black to grey and also makes her look very old. In case you were wondering what she looked like before the events of this game, here's an image. Apparently she's inspired by some guy from Get Her Robo. However, I never watched that show, so I don't care. We start the game with Lyra talking to her friend and the only other person in this game, which is something I get to later, Bart. Bart is a bartender. He also has a chicken. Her name is Catherine. And I just want to make it clear that I love these character portraits. They're really expressive and charming. And just like that, we are immediately thrown into the game's overworld. There are only two locations at the moment, one of them being Bart's Bar, where you can buy upgrades, but entering the bar is very awkward. You see, you enter and there's no sound effect for entering the store or anything here, really. That is something I find kind of annoying, or rather off-putting. Moving from one menu option to another also doesn't make a sound, so whenever I select something, I don't get any audio feedback. And the same goes for purchasing something. So I'm often not sure if I actually did buy something or not. It's a minor nitpick for sure, but it's still something I noticed. Aside from the bar, there are 5 stages in total, each containing multiple bosses and new weapons you can obtain. However, I can only show you one of them, because I was an idiot and accidentally overwrote my save file while starting a new game. Whoops! At the start of the game, you only have your axe and crossbow, but that's really all you need for now. The crossbow paralyzes most enemies, and the very second you land a hit on them, you've basically won the battle already, due to this game's juggling mechanic. Whenever you hit an enemy, they will be slightly elevated, allowing you to land another hit and then another, and so on and so forth. Juggling enemies is incredibly fun, but it eliminates any semblance of challenge, as enemies cannot escape a juggle. Most bosses also don't pose a threat, though some have cool and creative mechanics. However, you are pretty much invulnerable while attacking, allowing you to negate any and all damage you would otherwise take. Defeating a boss grants you a new weapon or ability, as well as some cash for your pocket that you can then spend in the bar, which is the only place where you can meet other people, being Bart and the chef. The lack of any people makes the world seem barren and empty, which is something both Mega Man Zero and Order of Ecclesia prevented by having people you could talk to in the town or in the resistance base. The music is pretty good and fits the overall tone of the game quite well. The backgrounds and sprites can sometimes look a little odd. For example here, before the first stage, where there is this weird horizontal line stretching through the background. Something I really like about this game is how it makes you feel more and more powerful with each and every ability. While at the beginning of the game your combos are simple and look a little like this, at the end of the game they'll look more like this. And it's really fun to just beat the ever-living shit out of enemies, even if it's incredibly easy thanks to the abilities like the parry, which you can use by just spamming the button, which is what I did. Works like a charm every time. This is also where the alternative modes of the main game come in. Aside from the main story, there's also the Birdsley Beach, where you can try out combos on a beach ball, but I prefer to just do this. There's also Lena Labyrinth, which is basically just the boss rush, but it's still really fun. And then there's the newest mode that was implemented in a recent update. Milling Marathon, which is a gauntlet of enemies with some bosses in between. It's a real endurance test involving all of your abilities, and is easily the most fun part of the game so far. There's also the filters you can put on the main game, which makes it so it's always in nightmare mode, or it can make it so that you immediately die the very second nightmare mode is activated. Oh yeah, nightmare mode! That's something I completely forgot to mention until now, even though it's the main mechanic of the game. This is because despite of this, it's really not all that prominent. On the upper left side of the screen you have a timer that gradually ticks down to 0. When that happens you enter nightmare mode, which makes everything go red and evil until you find a bed to sleep on. It's usually not an issue, unless you're an idiot like me and try to rush through the stage while having die a nightmare on and forgetting to sleep on a bed. Though obviously not a perfect game, it's incredibly impressive for being Stoken's first attempt at actually making a video game, and I hope to see him work on more projects in the future. The game is $8 on Steam and has a demo available. And it also goes to sale from time to time. I highly recommend it if you want to have an enjoyable, easy ride. Or at least I would recommend it if the game hadn't glitched out on me while recording, making me die by being stuck in spikes, spazzing out my controls, and crashing my recording. 0 out of 10, worst game I have ever played. Don't buy it.